let's give America the kind of comeback that New Hampshire has just given me.
What she does now, of course, is she embraces the applause. She goes up to it. She almost wants to hug people for the noise that they're making, for the reaction that they're giving her.
What are the coaching giveaways?
You can tell when somebody is coached, when their gestures don't seem natural, when the beat is off slightly, when you can tell I'm thinking and then I'm showing. Hillary always looks like she thinks before she shows anything.
I am not going out there on my own.
Mark Jeffries also detects signs of coaching in the new, improved Hillary.
Who believe, as I do, that this country is worth fighting for.
Now, you see, when you coach your politician, you have to create the illusion that they are loved by many. Now, even when you step out onto a stage and your audience is applauding you, you still have to create this image that there are people out there who you know personally, people that you're thrilled to see. So what you do as a politician is you point to the audience. This is the only time you can use your finger, because you're going, hey, thanks for coming. Now, of course, there's no one there that they know. And if you are in the audience, you're looking at her going, she's pointing at me. Is there somebody else? But the whole thing is a game, and it's a brilliant one, because when you watch it on TV, you go, wow, she knows so many people.
Politicians now know they must pay attention to the 93% of communication that's nonverbal. But what role does body language have in everyday life? Does good body language help close a deal? To find out, we hired 2 women to pose as new car customers. Our pretend customers, Jackie and Casey, are rigged with hidden cameras, so our experts can watch the car salesman in action. First stop is a BMW showroom, where they're greeted by Corey, one of the salesmen.
Oh, look at the fixing the tie. There's some preening. Must have saw that there are 2 cute girls waiting. He's fixing things up.
Hi, I'm Jackie. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, this is Casey.
Hi, Casey. Nice to meet you both.
I wanted to come and take a look at something in the 3 Series, if you have something available.
Certainly. Certainly. Let me grab it.
Kind of quick on the handshake, but he was smiling, which is very genuine.
Okay, look at how he approaches. The salesman approaches the 2 women. He's got a giant smile, which is what he needs to have. And he's also got his head bowed slightly forward, which is very important for displaying submissiveness. Very useful for a salesman.
Salesman Corey has started off well.
Oh, looks like he put a winter coat on and an umbrella. He's going to take the girls outside. So this is a man that wants to make a sale.
Okay.
And it looks like he's going to give Jackie and Casey a test drive.
I'm looking more at the sedan, I think. I'm not looking for anything particularly fast, nothing.
Look at not messing around. This guy is on his A game. Great posture. He had a little jump in his step there going to the car.
And off they go.
I believe this salesman's body language is near perfect throughout.
Corey gets high marks from our experts. But were our customers impressed by his performance?
What do you think of Corey's first impression?
I thought he was very friendly, really sweet. You know, real, like, easy to talk to, down-to-earth kind of guy.
Do you think his body language would have helped or hurt an actual sale with you guys?
Personally, I think it would have helped.
It would have helped.
His body language in with his personality.
The following morning, they go to a Toyota dealership. This time, there'll be an extra hidden camera rigged inside the frame of Jackie's sunglasses.
This is Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
This is Jerry.
Very hot. Nice to meet you.
So,
How will salesman Jerry compare with Corey?
This position right here where we see Jerry, see what he's doing with his thumbs? He's rubbing his hands. That's called the self-touch gesture.
Jerry's self-touch gesture is similar to Richard Nixon's hand-rubbing during the Watergate investigations.
This is a comfort gesture, and it means that he's feeling in some way uncomfortable. Body language can't be considered in isolation. It's usually an amplifier to what you're already saying. Now, he's moving calmly, he's assuring, but he's not assuring to them. He's actually essentially assuring himself.
Both cars come with a built-in remote that's built into the key fob,
Okay.
so that you don't have to have a separate key.
Here's the problem. He's looking down. He did not connect with eye contact with the women. Here there's a disconnect. He's, by standing up, what happens is you're saying, I'm more important than you. If anything, he should be down, crouched on his knees a little bit.
Inside the car, Jerry's showing off the various features. But is his body language helping to persuade a potential customer?
Oh my God, that is very nice.
People buy not based on the product. They don't even buy based on the data about the product. Ultimately, they buy based on how they feel about the salesman.
So how do Casey and Jackie feel about Jerry?
He seemed a little distant to me in general, even when we were, I mean, it got better as it went on in time, but there was definitely some distance there throughout the sale.
Camry is more
Comparing their experiences, we asked them which salesman would be more likely to sell them a car.
Bye. Have a good day.
Oh, Corey, definitely.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Why? And look at your genuine smiles pop up, by the
Because
way.
he has a genuine smile. I mean, he, like you said, he has the confidence about him, and he was sure, but it wasn't overconfidence. It was just natural. He just had it.
One of the acknowledged masters of body language is former President Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton is great at establishing rapport. He's one of the all-time best.
In this televised town meeting in San Diego back in 1993, Clinton shows off his skills.
My own belief is that we do need more jobs, and that we do need jobs tied to continuing education and training.
Bill Clinton has all the classic charismatic factors: likability, power, attractiveness.
But if you look at Germany, if you look at Great Britain, if you look at France, you look at all
He's a powerhouse because he's so open. He's giving us his full frontal, saying, I have nothing to hide. We're together. We're alike. And that's what rapport is.
Every good speaker who speaks formally expresses from the heart. Clinton expresses from the heart.
And they managed to grow rather
Clinton's
briskly.
gestures deliver his message to any size audience.
Arkansas.
The President of the United States, William Jefferson Clinton.
We do not need to build a bridge to the past. We need to build a bridge to the future, and that is what I commit to you to do.
He gestures on the beat. Very, very significant. In telling whether somebody's being authentic, being honest, you want to make sure they're gesturing just a second before they say it. You feel it, you show it, and then you say it.
We need to build a bridge to the future, and
He's gesturing just before he says it.
The real mark of a body language master, though, is how they deal with a difficult situation.
My question is, can you name one country that has ever taxed and spent itself back into prosperity? Thank you.
Mr. President?
Well, the answer to your question
And,
is I
you know,
can't.
I'll just pause it here because you can see straight away that he is not happy with that question at all. But he betrays very quickly and for a very short period of time the fact that he does not have an answer. He does the mouth pull. He goes, oh.
Mr. President?
Well, the answer to your question is I can't, but you can't fairly characterize my program as that. I have cut more spending than my predecessor did.
He's very quick. He instantly regains his composure, and that's one of the things with Bill Clinton. He has this power to regain composure.
First thing I did was cut the White House staff by 25%. Every and a half months, then came to
Like
the White
Bill
House
Clinton,
all night.
Tony Blair has a reputation for composure in public. But it didn't always come naturally. Blair, his wife Sherry, and children are posing for the cameras on the day he first became British Prime Minister. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for.
You're taught as a political couple that you must show a bit of love from time to time. Show the voters you're real and normal people.
The crowd is applauding. He puts his arm around Sherry as if he's going to hug her.
Now, of course, Cherie, remembering the lessons, decides to go for the kiss.
He then grabs her, puts his hand right in front of her so that she can't kiss him.
and he almost blocks her with his hand like, no, not now, not now, dear.
She goes and does a little cat thing on his chest. And it's at that moment when she does that that he realizes he's missed the boat, that actually he was supposed to kiss her.
But then it's too late because everyone's seen the effort and you can hear a little bit of booing from the crowd, and then he realizes he's made a mistake, so he kind of kisses her hair. And the whole thing was rather embarrassing.
Rookie politicians aren't the only ones to give themselves away. Even the masters can get exposed. Take this promotional appearance in 2005 by actors Angelina Jolie and the recently separated Brad Pitt.
Thank you guys.
When it came to the premiere of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, their body language was screaming to me, there's more to the story here.
The press had been full of speculation about whether Pitt and Jolie were having a secret romance.
Just before they run the film, Brad Pitt says a couple more cute little things, and Angelina Jolie becomes like Princess Diana, you know, with the whole looking down. She looks up at Brad Pitt, and she looks back down, like, take care of me. It is a massive flirting technique. It, for me, was the crucial point that said, there's something more to the story here.
We're really excited by it. We know you're going to like it. It's great fun. And,
instead of just being a chum and a pal, why does she have this little girl flirting thing going on?
We know you're gonna
Just a few months later, Pitt and Jolie became an official item. President Clinton had a more serious problem when rumors of his personal relationship with Monica Lewinsky began to circulate. He decided to make a very public televised denial. His words were crystal clear.
And I worked on it till pretty late last night. But I want to say one thing to the American people.
Clinton was addressing both the TV audience and the reporters at the White House.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
But his normally assured body language was not conveying a reassuring message.
These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people. Thank you.
To show that you're in integrity, your face, your head, your gestures, and your body need to be in alignment. In this case, he's gesturing in one direction and looking in another direction.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
So he's pointing here, but looking here. Well, that's a disconnect. That doesn't make sense. Why is there an incongruency there? It should be, America, I want to tell you something. Not America, I want to tell you something.
I did not have sexual
Now,
relations.
look again at the way the president's head moves.
I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never.
Never, 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 not a single time. We see the head shaking no, but we didn't see this head shaking no when he said he didn't have sexual relations with that woman.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
So although he's trying to control his body language, the truth was leaking out.
There's tinted windows on this car.
Out on the streets, reading body language accurately can be the difference between life and death. On a typical patrol, these police officers are constantly evaluating people based on their gestures and facial expressions.
As of right now, I see one person in the car. Throughout my time, my career, the first thing I look at is people's eyes, because eyes don't lie. I mean, you can put your hands in your pocket, you can take a seat on a chair, but your eyes don't lie.
How to read body language accurately is an important lesson in police training.
How you sit, how you dress, how you walk tells me who you are, whether you're a wolf or a sheep.
Former Marine Corps intelligence officer Frank Marsh has an audience of law enforcement officials from all over the state of New Jersey.
In the Western world, what happens when a man gets in your face like this? What's about to happen? We're about to fight. In the Middle East, this is how they talk. They'll even argue like this. In fact, Marines were getting in trouble because as the Arabs would get in front of their face, the Marines would hit them, and down they drop. And the Arabs would stand up and go, "Why'd you hit me?" "Because you got in my face." With Americans, if you get in a male's face, it's what? It's a challenge to fight. So pay attention to someone's body language.
Officers Jones and Rucci are on a patrol in Mount Vernon, just north of New York City.
I got it. Yeah, I got it. I got a red light.
Uh-oh. Red light. Okay. Which one? Is he okay?
They pull over a woman for going through a red light. As Rucci approaches the car, he has to be sensitive to the body language of the driver.
If she's fidgety, if she can't give a direct answer to a question, if her hands are moving, if she's constantly looking in a rearview mirror. So now, Officer Rucci, now he's very comfortable with this car stop.
Police officers have learned through bitter experience that if they don't keep their body language antenna tuned, things can go terribly wrong. Former sergeant in the New York Police Department, Lou Civelli, now trains police officers to recognize key body language indicators. He uses this video of a 1998 incident recorded by a dashboard camera to point out the real danger in not being sensitive to body signals.
Okay, what you have here is a sheriff's deputy in Georgia pulls over a vehicle for a traffic infraction. As he pulls the vehicle over, there's several indicators telling us that this was going to be a bad stop.
The sheriff's deputy was alone.
Okay, what you have here, the car stopped. Right away he opens his door, which tells us he's either going to attack the officer or he's hiding something in the vehicle. He's trying to distance himself from that vehicle. Everybody knows once the police pull you over, you're supposed to stay in the car.
Come on back here for me. Come on back.
But the driver gets out of the vehicle, which is alarm bell number 1.
Here the officer says, now, step towards me, and he hesitates. He's not ready to do his thing because he doesn't want to do it based on what the officer says. He's got a plan in his mind. More body language indicators that he's about to do something to this officer.
How you doing today?
Comes out, closes his coat, which tells you that he's nervous about something. He goes right, puts his hands in his pockets. That tells you a couple different things. That he's either nervous about what's about to happen, he's going to get aggressive, or he may have something in his pockets.
Back here and keep your hands out of your pocket.
Alarm bell number 2. The driver's out of his car and has put his hands in his pockets, both potentially threatening body language indicators. Now the sheriff's deputy gets out of his patrol car to talk to the driver.
Here what he's doing, he's dancing around, trying to intimidate the officers, show that I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to listen to what you say. You have no authority over me. And then right before he finishes up his dancing routine, if you notice, he claps his hands. Clapping the hands is one of the last indicators you see when someone's about to fight. They like clap their hands to get the blood flowing, and then they go to attack, and that's exactly what he does.
Come here, sir. Sir, get back. Where are you from?
A scuffle ensues off camera, and before the deputy can stop him, the pickup driver goes back to his vehicle. He appears to be searching for something.
I have been my life. Get back here now.
The driver now has a gun.
Put the gun down. Well, I got him out the gun. I need help.
The situation gets out of control. Shots are fired, and the deputy is killed. This horrific incident is one of many examples Civelli uses for body language training.
It's so important to read body language for police officers because if you can recognize a threat, that you're in danger, you could counteract that threat. It's the most important thing to teach police officers. I believe more important than self-defense, more important than firearms tactics, is that they need to understand when they're being threatened.
Out on the street, a police officer can use often subtle body language, or tells, to pick up on possible guilty or criminal behavior.
There's various ways that people try to hide a gun. One of the most common ways is blading. What they'll do is if they know that there's officers on one side, they'll blade their body real quickly this way, keep the bulge that's on this side away from the view of the officers. Another way of concealing a weapon is by billowing your shirt or your cloak. Just by pulling it out like this, billowing it around the weapon so that the weapon's not visible. finally, if I'm going to try to grab for my gun, the first thing going to happen is my thumb is going to twitch so it can clear the top of the shirt. So if you watch my hand's going to go up, and the first thing to go up is my thumb. I'm going to pull up and try to grab my weapon. And the reason I do that subconsciously, I know that my thumb has got to clear this weapon before I pull it out.
Blading, billowing, and the thumb twitch. All potentially threatening signals for those that can see them. For police officers, there are situations when body language has to be evaluated in just a fraction of a second. When Savelli was a New York cop, he worked in narcotics with Officer Paul Rossi.
Our team was making undercover buys. We were hitting drug locations. We ended up coming to this drug location. We'd do what's called a buy and bust. Our undercover would make a buy, and then us and part of the field teams would go in and bust the drug dealer.
The drug dealer on this occasion ran for it, towards this street corner.
We were up there, we came flying around the corner, and then we came flying into here. We saw him running into there, we saw the back of him from a distance, and then we just drove in.
We jumped out of the car, we ended up right over here.
Right, we jumped out of the car. You have to remember, the drug dealer lived right there. We're familiar with the neighborhood. We come out, we're flying out of the car, we see him coming around, he goes in, and what do you see him, Lou? He's
well, we
got
see
red.
The back of his body goes right through the door.
He goes right in. We come in, right, we're face to face with him right here. And of course, when we come in, the gun was already out at this time. Okay?
A man was standing behind the counter with a gun pointed straight at them.
I'm doing this, trying to hide behind something. Lou's coming up that side.
Both Lou and Paul were about to shoot.
Drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. By that time, Lou was up.
Something about the guy told us that he wasn't a danger to us. The way he was acting, the way he held the gun, the way his body was pointing, the way his eyes, although his face was fixed on Paul, his eyes kept going that way, which meant he wasn't intent on hurting us.
The man behind the shop counter was in fact a frightened shop clerk.
We hear the gun go hit the floor.
Turns out that his eyes were giving up the guy in the back. His body language told us that guy's back there. And we went to the back room, caught the guy in the back room hiding. We caught our drug deal in the back room.
It all only lasted a few seconds. Looking back, Savelli knows it was his split-second reading of body language that stopped him from shooting the shop clerk. More than half of what we communicate is through the gestures we make and the looks on our face. Scientists have dissected the thousands of different expressions that appear on the human face. The secret to understanding the face correctly is learning how to decode the expressions that all of us use. In the late 1960s, a pioneering American psychologist, Dr. Paul Ekman, tried to discover whether there were universal facial expressions that crossed all cultural boundaries.
Shame on you.
Dr. Paul Ekman is like the Buddha of body language.
Ekman is so important because of a study he conducted that compared the emotions in facial expressions of people in Papua New Guinea and Japan with those of people in Western countries. His team asked volunteers to make faces corresponding to a particular emotion and filmed the result. And Ekman found that there were in fact 7 universal expressions of emotions on the face. Happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, contempt, and disgust.
We all have them. Doesn't matter if you're 6, 66, 106. Doesn't matter if you're born in Iran, Japan, or the United States. They appear pretty much the same way in our face.
But Ekman's facial research didn't stop there.
He then developed an entire system of looking at the muscles of the face, such as movements that would happen between this muscle and this muscle so you could get a smile. And he then characterized those, giving us essentially an alphabet whereby scientists could talk to one another and characterize exactly what facial movements people were making.
The influence of Ekman's facial expression research can be seen today.
Okay, can we turn off the lights, please? Look happy, sad,
This is a demonstration of the face reader.
Angry.
The very latest in automated facial recognition technology.
Surprised. Face reader uses the 7 basic emotions as established by Paul Ekman and uses 55 points on the human face in order to classify those 7 basic emotions.
The face reader instantly maps the complex interactions of the muscles of the human face. These colored graph bars represent the type of emotion appearing on the face. Every expression is given a value in terms of the degree of happiness, sadness, anger, and so on. Technology like this is now being used in all sorts of fields.
For instance, consumer research. How do people react to different foods? Marketing research. How do people react to ads?
Today, facial recognition systems are being installed in airports to refine security checks.
Happy?
But the face communicates so much more than just the 7 universal emotions. Ekman identified more than 3,000 different facial expressions that convey a meaning that most of us will react to, both consciously and unconsciously. Today's politicians are acutely aware of the importance of nonverbal communication. They employ coaches to hone their gestures, but new research suggests they would do well to pay more attention to the expressions on their face.
I will be our party's nominee for President of the United States. Thank you, Wisconsin.
And more of the same.
Every presidential candidate has to try to win our trust.
And looking forward.
They need us to believe they're competent for the job before we're willing to vote for them.
Together, we will change this country.
But how do we decide whether they're competent or not?
A.
B.
A.
We asked Georgetown University to rerun a revealing experiment conducted at Princeton in 2005.
B.
Student volunteers make instant decisions between pairs of faces appearing on a screen.
Okay. B.
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 The student's task is to decide in sometimes less than half a second which of the 2 people is the more competent.
A.
It seems that we're so sensitive to facial expressions that we're comfortable making snap judgments like this.
B. A.
Even when the students have several seconds to choose, they don't alter their initial decision. What they don't know is that the photographs are of candidates who were running for the Senate, the House, and governor in 2002 and 2004.
B.
What kinds of expressions communicate competence?
A. B. I'd say a genuine smile. A. Anytime there was an